back to another edition of Rent Money. We hope you missed us. It's been a while, but we thought we got to bring it back. A little burning edges, some golf talk. The PGA Championship is this weekend, one of the four majors we get all year in the world of golf. We're joined with Old Chisholm, of course, the muscle, and our golf consigliere, Mr. Dickies. This is Run It Back Jones. We're pretty excited for you all to be tuning in. We have a wonderful episode planned for you all today. We're going to get into a lot of things, some tea time trash talk, some clubhouse favorites, talk about who were behind the storylines of the golf world. Rory McIlroy, of course, coming off his first green jacket and career Grand Slam. There's a lot to talk about, and we're going to be hitting all of it. But before we get to all of that, Mr. Chisholm's going to talk to you all about our most recent sponsor, Dabble.
Yeah. Guys, you got to take a look into an app that we just discovered down here in Austin, Texas, called Dabble, sports book within the daily fantasy space that just moved over from Melbourne, Australia, coming into Austin. Like I said, biggest thing that I noticed off the bat, I don't really like to advocate on behalf of a sports book, especially not one that, doesn't have a physical location, but these guys do everything in their power to make it user friendly and make it as social as possible. So a lot of the things that we've talked about on Action Network, how you can follow along and make the same plays, you can actually just copy people's bets and just by simply hitting a button, you're able to add them into your book, compound things up all the way to the point where you can get multipliers of 1,000x your original stake. Of course, this is all within parlay type format of DFS, different bets and things of that nature. But really, really cool news for us here doing a PGA Championship preview. Sorry, Dabble is dropping their first, or I guess their second, after doing some testing at the Masters, but their first time being able to go out and offer some DFS plays for golf. Right now, it's looking like it's going to be total strokes, over or under, more or less, for just about every single guy in the field. Michael Block, he's on there. Rory, Scotty, all of the big names, all of the the household ones, right? So you can have some fun there and pair them up with your multipliers. Anytime that you hit one of three or more, you get a heat check right now, which is where you get $10 back, 6 or more in a row, and you get $40 back. All you need to do is bet minimum of $2, and you can apply to that. Get in on that before June 3rd. And while you can, go ahead and from the Rent Money Boys, use the code OLCHISHOM. That's OLECHISUM. For a free $25 no deposit bonus straight into your account. Don't say we didn't do nothing for you, and go tell the folks at Dabble we say hello.
Woo! Boys, we've done a handful of these episodes, but anytime we get a Blocky reference right off the bat, this guy's like a TV show that every time you think he's going to get canceled, not come back, he gets renewed for another season. It's great to have the PGA Tour of American Professionals back in the mix this weekend. I don't know how much time we'll focus on them over the course of this episode, but quick shout out to them for being a part of the storylines this weekend. All right, we're back in Charlotte this week. Quail Hollow, the second major of the year. Dickies, Chisholm's great to be here. Just what's the mental state, coming into our second major of the year?
What do you like, Dickies?
This might be a cliche answer, but I'm in Rory's corner all the way. I've been telling people since the Masters, if I could find the bet, I honestly haven't looked that hard, but if I could find the bet for Rory to win 3 out of the 4 majors this year, I would take it. And this is going to be one of those 3.
Right off the bat. I mean, Rory is just a great character in sports, right? The ups and downs. That's one of the great things about golf, too, right? Is you get to really grow up with these guys, even more so than other sports, right? Where basketball, football, baseball, even, you're kind of peaking your prime. And golf is similar, but you're maybe your late 20s, early 30s, and it's a short peak. Golf, on the other hand, right? We just went through this odyssey with Rory over the last 10 years. He already reached the mountaintop, and then he's trying to get back. It's rare that you ever find somebody get back to the mountaintop 10 years later in any other type of sport. Caps Chisholm here told us that VJ Singh, maybe it was VJ Singh's withdrawing from the tournament this weekend. My heart was broken, because we get these characters, BJ included, right? We just get to spend so much time with them for so long, and I think myself, I've flipped back and forth on how I feel about Rory a dozen times, right? It is fun, and he's flying high right now.
That was Dickies who said that. I want to give credit where it's due. I'm always going to cite my sources. Can't take that one, but Johnny on the spot there.
I'm still looking forward to watching VJ in Des Moines, hopefully this year. Out of
PCC.
Wakanda. Yeah, at the PCC.
Coming up. Don't forget
Speaking
about the
of
legends.
climbing back to the top of mountaintops, you said not a lot of people do it. Not a lot of people get the chance even to do it. A lot of eyes on Spieth this week. With
Career Grand Slam.
Career Grand Slam. I don't know if this is true, but I can't imagine there's been back-to-back career Grand Slams accomplished.
That's got to be a first. There's just no other way. I don't know how it could be. There's only been 6 career Grand Slams to begin with.
Yeah,
something like that, and Spieth would be another one, right? And wouldn't that be quite the story? Redemption, back-to-back weeks, both guys with huge falling bases, people that want to see him do well. I'm sure they'll come up in some later segments. Caps, if you had to pick between a Spieth or like Grand Slam, right, or Rory taking another step to a normal Grand Slam season, right? Which one would you side with? Which one would you rather see? What's the better golf story?
I mean, the better golf story, without a doubt, just given the current state of the game, Rory McIlroy. I think that there's going to be a few PGA championships coming up, PGA in Frisco more specifically. That would be incredible to see Spieth win at. That's essentially going to be in his backyard where he grew up. Think of all the family and the friends that would be at that, right? That would just that'd be like if Rory got a green jacket, but Augusta just happened to be in the middle of, Northern Ireland or wherever the hell Rory wants to claim to be from. Now I know that
he's going back to London. See how he's building a big old mansion there. He's moving there from Florida.
I didn't. That's disappointing to hear. But you gotta have boots on the ground at some point. So we'll give credit where it's due. But who isn't polling for Spieth? That's round 9. Here we go. We just watched Rory do it. You got Phil coming up at the U.S. Open later in the year. Phil's time is most likely come and gone. Spieth is, the clock's ticking. We've watched the toll that it's had on Rory the past how many years. Rory himself opening up about it. This isn't getting any easier. Spieth's not getting any younger. However, his numbers off the tee, while the accuracy scares me, I think he's put on enough and kind of prepared for this tournament in particular with the driver to be able to try to hang with the big boys if the rough isn't testy as much as we're hearing it might not be from boots on the ground TP.
Yeah, and the narrative's a little different too, just from how many opportunities Rory gave himself, not only for that career Grand Slam, but also just to reclaim another major championship. While Spieth, on the other hand, it would still feel a little bit like it came out of nowhere again. He has been playing better. He has won on tour semi-recently, but it would be pretty shocking still, I think, at this point if he were to pull out this tournament. But at the same time, I don't know. This might be one of his better opportunities to win another major in general here at Quail Hollow. Mm-hmm. Quail Hollow, of course, typically holds the Wells Fargo Championship, now known as the Truist. It's a stop on the typical rotation for the PGA Tour. Are you guys excited for this as a venue? The good city of Charlotte hosting. Any thoughts around the course itself, or just excitement levels around Quail Hollow?
Kind of just verbatim what Andy Johnson and the guys at Friday Golf were talking about earlier. It's Quail Hollow is not a bad course by any stretch of the imagination, but when you listen to the same song over and over and over again, when you watch the same episode of a TV show, it just starts to feel played out, dried out. Torrey Pines kind of entering that same that same conversation, I guess you could say. And especially when you're looking down the barrel back half of the year, you go Oakmont to Royal Portrush, bang, bang to finish out with the U.S. Open and the Open. This is one of those times where people are going to look at Quail Hollow and say, if I could hit fast forward, I would. But it could make for some very entertaining golf depending on the weather.
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know if there's anything. Go ahead, Charlie. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I like the return to Quail Hollow because they hosted what PGA Championship once before, 2017,
2017. Yep.
where Justin Thomas won, and a President's Cup 2022. And I like the way the course lays out. I was watching a YouTube video posted by Golf Digest, kind of going through the course, going through hole by hole, talking about the strengths and weaknesses of the course and what that does to the players. One of the things was it focuses a lot on driving accuracy. And if you can bomb it like Bryson and Rory and Ludwig and some of these studs that hit it the furthest on tour, it gives them an advantage. And I kind of like those. I like those courses where some of these top guys that we're rooting for have a little bit of an advantage out of the gate, and everybody has to go chase them. And it also puts a little bit of extra pressure on them, and you expect them to perform. So you get to go see if they'll rise to the occasion or crumble under the pressure.
Yeah, in 2017, the leaderboard did spread out. There was about a 7-shot difference between first place and 10th place. But just to entertain me, Justin Thomas, first place. Francisco Molinari, second. Louis Oosthuizen, second. Patrick Reed, second. Ricky Fowler, fifth. Matsuyama, fifth. Kisner, seventh. Day, Kuchar tied for ninth. Like, what a funny leaderboard that is, looking back at it. Just a lot of names that we remember, and that's just kind of what I'm hoping for this weekend. It might not be a course that really sets itself apart, hole to hole, but hopefully the leaderboard can deliver and at least give us an exciting finish. I know we had an episode on this program last year, maybe 2 of them, ripping Valhalla down there in Louisville. Not only the setup of the course, but also the setup of the traffic stops, leading into the parking, and all that happened leading up to the tournament one morning with Scotty Scheffler finding himself behind bars. But nonetheless, it did bring an exciting finish and a good leaderboard. I don't think it's going to be to that level of a course this weekend where people are just kind of like, hey, it's not penal enough, and we're going to go sub 20 under, right? Which is going to be refreshing. But at the same time, to you guys' point, it's a story we've seen before, and it's not one that necessarily avid golf fans are stoked to see again. But we'll just have to see how it plays out. You never know.
I'll pull out 2 quotes to finish off our talk on Quail Hollow. Scotty said he's going to Uber to the course every single day
to
avoid a conflict like last year. And
that's pretty funny.
For all the doubters about Quail, there's a quote from Tiger out there, and it's short and sweet, and he says, "It's a major championship course every single day of the week." So we'll see if it lives up to those expectations.
Well, I think we covered some of the different storylines here. I guess the last one I'll toss to just Chisholm. Scotty Scheffler got his first win on tour last time he teed it up for the season. He's still the odds-on favorite coming into this week. It feels like we've seen subpar Scotty at times this year while still maintaining Scotty levels at the same time in terms of consistency. Like, he's still finishing top of the leaderboard, while simultaneously at times I would say he's playing bad for himself. I've watched a lot of Scotty golf. I'm like, wow, he's playing like shit today. Oh, T5. All right.
Yeah, Scott. Here's my thing with Scotty is I think he's like the anti-Spieth, if that makes sense. Yeah. He's another Texan, plays fairly similar in terms of, shot shape and ability to shot shape, but then you watch them play and they couldn't be more opposite. I mean, Spieth is a roller coaster. Every shot, every other word to Michael Greller, like you never know what's coming out of his mouth. It's nonstop entertainment versus Scotty. Calm, cool, collected. Unless he's getting arrested, you don't really ever hear much from him until Sunday when he's at the top of the leaderboard by 8 strokes, because why not? And it's like, it's not like Scotty's doing anything insane. Once again, he's losing distance from years prior, but he's trading that for accuracy. He's trading that for better
Dad
looks.
strength on the hot seat.
The dad strength is on the hot seat. However, I think it's worth noting that, between the Scotties of the world, Rory and Xander are right there as far as winning form and winning contention.
You think Xander's right there?
I know for a fact that Xander is. There was a stat going into this week. I wanted to make sure I took a good look at mid to long iron game and just to see how guys were doing with both distance and accuracy. Rory and Xander are the only players right now on tour that have at least 10 yards longer on average of gain from their mid to long irons and at least 0.05 strokes per shot with those long irons. You compound that over 72 holes of golf. And I mean, they're just doing things going into greens with, the 7s, 8 irons of the world and attacking versus, a 6, 5, even a 4 for like a Morikawa, who, as talented as he is, like that's a massive undertaking to be, playing that many clubs down in certain spots. So I'll digress from there. All I'm going to say is, though, Scotty, to get back to that run that he's had, is going to be able to he's just going to need to make sure that he's got it dialed off the tee, not putting himself in any weird spots in the rough, and his putters. He's just got to hit some putts. That's his thing. Like, he's been like T20, T15. Like, you would expect the guy setting course records and going out, making it look easy.
T15. He'll probably win this weekend.
I mean,
he on the greens.
Yeah, you would assume so, right? But we'll see.
This is the time of the year you get these major championships where we get the classic local golf video from down in Texas of Spieth and Zalatoris and Scotty Scheffler all teeing it up at like 14 to 16 ages. It's always a good one. Caps, where do you want to take us, man? You're dialed in. You're ready to roll.
Yeah. I mean, not like a ton to dive into as far as storylines and things of that nature go, but it's worth noting a few of the conversations that were had today or previously. First and foremost, I don't know if y'all have thoughts on just the city of Charlotte in general. I really do wish a certain Texas Pete was here for this to be able to defend it. We just, going to war for our fellow Potters on the Twitterverse, the Xverse, if you will. The Millie Goats podcast sent a call for aid. Just know, Rent Money, we're here. We're going to respond, and we're going to stand up for Charlotte and North Carolina every opportunity that we get, because that's going to set the tone. It's going to set the pace. And some posers over at Trap Draw Golf, another supposedly popular podcast, we are now declaring war. They have generated hundreds of thousands of views, according to Ted Williams, not the greatest hitter of all time. Ted Williams, this, I believe, is a cryogenically frozen offspring of his. The people of Charlotte, in quotes, should just apologize in general. It's a bunch of mid-level junior bankers. I've never had a good meal in Charlotte. I don't think there's a good non-chain restaurant. It's the most vanilla, bland place. The fake Queen City moniker pisses me off. What's the culture of Charlotte? NASCAR? It's a diet Atlanta. These are just some quotes that got thrown out. And not only did they get thrown out, but Ted found them and he posted them on LinkedIn. So if you're in the LinkedIn game, check out Teddy Williams and the viral golf attack he went to defend. We're going to do something similar here, but not quite as intensely. We're just going to highlight a few key things here about Quail Hollow. This is a popular course. We don't need to dive into it. The biggest thing we want to hammer home, or me specifically, is that the last 5 major winners, regardless of the course, think, Valhalla for Xander in one of these, though. Scotty, Xander twice, Bryson, Rory, big names, a lot of money, a lot of wins and accolades, but all of them were rated plus 1.3 strokes gained total or better in overall skill across the rest of the field. So who's the guys that are doing that right now? I think the 2 main ones that we've talked about being a Rory, a Xander. We don't need to beat around the bush, but the other guys to look for, anybody that you know and love that's just dialed in from 150 out. This is not going to be a wedge course as much. So a Step Straka, in my mind, great play here. And guys that are getting the early window on Thursday should also have about a 0.2 strokes gained advantage based on the weather reports coming in. So if you're making any picks, you're really into the whole, first round leader. Try to find somebody teeing out early on Thursday.
Well, hey, lots to digest there. I'm going to take a step back and go to the good city of Charlotte, and at least put in a little bit of defense there. Sure, Charlotte doesn't have the most history, right? It's not your Chicago, your New York City, or even your Atlanta, but it's clean. The people are nice. The people are friendly. It's a dog-friendly city. It is a little bit too brewery-oriented for my taste. I do feel like breweries are... When you have a certain amount of microbreweries, it just means there's a lot of boring people that don't just want something to do, want something to go out to the patio. There is such a thing as having too many breweries. I prefer maybe more of a dim lit, little grimier pub. NASCAR Hall of Fame is there. Nothing wrong with a little love for NASCAR. If that's your culture, so be it. But yeah, no, Charlotte, great city, some decent barbecue. In mid-level bankers, I'll agree with that. That is actually that's a fair critique. But the rest of it, I will disagree with. Sepp Straka coming off a win. I like Sepp. I love Sepp since the time I first laid eyes on him. Really, he's just a doughboy. Any guy with love handles on tour is just gonna immediately get a +2 in the Q rating for me. Shane Lowry, Beef, lots of guys.
I think it's hard to discount Seb, second in the FedEx Cup right now. 2 wins in 2025, 4 top 10s this year, 9th in world golf ranking. I think he's coming out of his shell. Maybe he's getting a little bit comfortable with his doughboy status on tour.
Yeah. He's
been
Georgia
pro for almost
Bulldog.
10 years, I think.
Yeah.
But he's kind of coming into his own. I don't know what he's figured out, but it's working.
He's a guy that weirdly has a strong following amongst semi-average golf fans. The casuals, I guess, as they would maybe call it in NBA terms. Dickies, when you run a pool basically for every major, and Sepp will oftentimes find himself in the 2, 3, and if he's not playing well, I've seen him all the way down in the 4 tier, but consistently for about 3 years now, he's probably one of the most picked players in every pool for whatever reason. People love Sepp Straka. Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your ideas or thoughts around a 6-tier pool? You've had some time running this one. I'm sure you've looked at the stats, analyzed any just general thoughts around your approach to tiered pool picking.
I love the 6-tier pool. So this pool drops out your 2 lowest scores out of the 6. Players are tiered by their odds to win, and it's live odds. So this week Seb's sitting in tier 2. I think Seb gets a lot of picks just because his name draws your eyes. Sepp Straka. He's got the double S's and the double P's going on. I think he's just an easy guy. If you don't know, if you're kind of wavering on who to pick, I think your eyes go to his name pretty quickly. One thing I'll say about this week in the tiered pool, which I'm really excited about, with the higher scoring tournaments, I think it makes the pool a little bit more interesting. The really the Masters, when the scores are all pretty consistent. I don't know what the winner actually ended up at a few weeks back when Rory took it, but 11 or 12 under maybe. If we get up to 20 under, you can have some sleeper picks from down in your tiers 4, 5, and 6 that are throwing up 10 under, 11 under, 12 under at the end of the week. And those guys are playing into your position on the leaderboard a lot more heavily than in the low scoring tournaments. So I think this one should be really, really interesting.
Yeah.
And I'll say Capsh is the guy to beat right now. And the pools this year, Capsh went 2nd in the PGA Championship and 1st in the Masters. The only person so far this year to show up on the leaderboard twice.
Chisholm, you won the Masters?
No,
did I say Capsh?
I got close. I was gonna
Pearson.
say, yeah, Pearson's the guy in the clubhouse going into it.
Pearson's Rory of the pool this week. Everyone's chasing him down.
The pair is in fact nasty right now.
Yeah, when you're doing these pools, I like to think about it a little bit like March Madness. You know, if there's over 100 entries, I might as well be 100th than be 6th. And part of that is you got to pick players that might be off the beaten path. Some that aren't going to be as often picked, but you could see making a run. And so you try and look at, at some expected value, but at the same time, that put me in basically dead last for the Masters. Trying to get too cute with it, but fuck it. I'll probably try and get cute again. We'll see how many entries there are. If you go with Scotty Scheffler, at least last year, right, in your first tier, then you're already just going to be competing against a lot of the other guys that have Scotty versus where in this PGA Tour Championship last year, you go Xander, right? Just not as maybe popular of a player, not as fun, not as exciting at times. And people don't seem to want to pick him in these pools often. But that would have been a winning strategy, right? So there's just a lot of variables involved there. But the tiers approach is fun. It's usually a $10 entry. Dickies, we can put that link out and see if we can get some extra buzz this year. It usually feels like the PGA Tour is the one that kind of lacks behind in terms of participation, so we'll have to juice it up a little bit.
PGA Championship is usually the lowest of the 4 majors. For sure. And I'll say, as the pool has grown over the years, I think this is the 4th year in a row I've hosted a pool for all the majors, 4th or 5th. And I can go back and look at my admin account and see how many entries we've had for each tournament along the way. And I'll say the strategy, I think, has evolved over the years. You used to be able to kind of spray and pray, pick the guys you like. Maybe they'll have a good week. A couple of them will have a good week and you'll get lucky. But now I think with 50 plus entries consistently, 100 plus entries in the big ones, you got to get strategic and you got to start looking at stats. And I think you don't have to look at the guys that's going to win. You got to look at the guy that's guaranteed to make the cut, and he might sneak a top 20, a top 15, hopefully a top 10. I think if you want to do some research this week before making your picks, you go in and deep dive into top 10 finishers.
A Dean Burmeister T6. That could be like the winning pick, right? That's like a classic guy that just pulls it out. I mean, Justin Rose has been probably one of the biggest value picks, right, in the last 4 or 5 majors now, as he has slowly now probably increased his odds. I saw a stat that he's the only guy, what is it, Chisholm, to have a top 10 in the last 5 PGAs. He's got a 5 PGA top 10 streak going right now. Is that what I read? That's insane.
Yep.
And he's had top 10s in the last 3 major tournaments he's played in, I believe. So he's playing some good golf right now as well, not to be discounted. I mean, that Rose versus McIlroy battle, the finish there at Augusta, was pretty outrageous, and he's been stones lately. And he's even talked about how, and I'm not a Team Rose guy necessarily. I think he's a bit of a stick in the mud, a true Brit, but he's just talked about how, hey, he's getting older. He's not a guy that went for the live money, and he's very, very focused on competing in these major championships. He's kind of Brooks Koepka mentality, right? Everything is all about, at this point in his career, getting ready for the majors. When you're younger and still trying to find form and trying to find yourself as a golfer, like I feel like Big Dick Vic, right? Every time he tees it up right now, he's out there searching still. He's still trying to figure out who he wants to be. Maybe that he's just a guy that'll always be searching and never really settle it in. But it's been impressive to see this run that Rose has gone on here. For a good stretch of majors. And he's somebody that's not to be discounted this weekend, right? And especially with that PGA Championship stat we just threw out.
Yeah, easily just one of those guys that benefited a ton from being – it seemed like it was almost a big venting sesh for him on Full Swing. Like his episode was one that I actually enjoyed compared to the Ian Poulter one. I think just in general I enjoy the presence of a Justin Rose on tour more than an Ian Poulter. I think Poulter at most is a Ryder Cup guy. Yeah, just a tool bag, teach their own. But Justin Rose, like you see him talk with his family, his wife, his caddy, other players on tour. it's tough to dislike him. I don't care what your nationality is. Like he really does just seem like a down to earth guy who just wants to go out there and leave it all on the line. Like
and
he
hang out in
knows
cryo chambers after.
right. He
Huge,
knows the
huge
legacy.
cryo guy.
Like he cryo, but everything he needs to do in his career is, this tournament or the next however many majors in front of him, and then, it's off to the Champions Tour or wherever he wants to go from there. Hopefully broadcasting. I think he'd be great on the course or in the booth, but yeah, I love Rosie.
On that point about who's in the clubhouse and some of the behind the scenes from Full Swing, I got a little game here for the two of you. Basically, we're calling it clubhouse favorites. Just throwing out two names and seeing who you guys think is more popular in the clubhouse amongst PGA Tour professionals, people competing in the tournament, caddies, the whole thing. The guys that are spending time in the clubhouse. This guy walks in, people get fired up. You can tell he kind of commands the room. Everybody's saying hi. Everybody's patting him on the back versus maybe another guy that's just not as well liked, a little bit more reserved, a little bit people don't seem to be as
locker
drawn
room
to
guy.
Him. Locker room guy, yeah.
Locker room pick.
We all know what the hell that is. I don't know why I'm over explaining it. Thanks, Dickies. All right, the first one, we're going to go back to a classic rivalry, a classic feud. Brooks versus Bryson. When they walk in the locker room, Bryson's had a lot of ups and downs. I think from a popularity standpoint, when this feud first started, everybody was kind of Team Brooks. Now I think if you took a poll today, Bryson, might actually, in the favor of America or the favor of popularity amongst just casual golf fans, win that battle. So I'm just curious, in the clubhouse, Bryson versus Brooks.
I have a hard time believing anyone wants to hang out with Brooks. Like it's not to discredit Bryson, but I mean, I can't stand him. I've been on record saying that 100 different times, 100 different ways. I would assume that, he's a polarizing figure between Liv and everything else, but Brooks is everything in that exact same camp. And then on top of that, he's also just a dickhead. Like, I name one time you've ever seen Brooks and be like, that was a real stand-up thing he did.
I don't know if they've ever caught him on camera smiling either. That might be a little drawback for him.
Not unless he's won.
I think it's got to be Bryson right now.
Bryson.
He's kind of the cool man on campus. I think probably a lot of the guys, especially some of the guys maybe who are expecting to finish towards the bottom of the leaderboard, are probably going up to Bryson trying to get some YouTube advice, looking for a second career.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. But does Bryson
do
still not have the kind of the vibe of dork in high school that joins a frat and thinks he's the coolest man of all time, and everybody that went to school with him is still like, this guy is the worst? And he comes back to town, he walks in the bar wearing his new chubby shorts, thinking he's just the coolest man of all time. And he's just like, dude.
Now he's wearing his Reebok. He's probably has that exact mantra, wearing his new Reebok gear.
And on the flip side, I don't disagree, but Brooks would be like, if you ask Brooks, like, what kind of personality are you? Like, what do you like? He'd probably be like, oh, I'm just a locker room guy. I just would have played football if I was better at football than I am at golf because I just love hanging out in the locker room. Like, that's kind of the personality he tries to give off. So it's funny that you guys both side with Bryson. All right, we'll move on to another one, a classic bromance. Two guys that grew up together in this golf game. JT versus Spieth.
Real ones know the actual answer, Ricky Fowler, but I'm going to go with JT.
Yeah, Ricky is, of course, just BMX chill bro. Like, everybody loves Ricky.
Yeah, but I'll go JT. Okay. JT seems like a little bit less buttoned up. As
funnier.
We watched him lose a FootJoy sponsorship over his lack of filter, but I mean, outside of that, like, went to Bama, seems like a good old boy's boy.
I'm going with Spieth.
Okay.
Spieth seems like I almost have the opposite analysis. I think JT walks around with the thought in his head that he should be winning more, and he feels like he deserves to be winning more, whether that's right or wrong. That's the impression I get. Spieth also feels that way, but gives off the aura that he wants to go earn it. He had an interview last week talking about after Scheffler just blew everybody out of the water, and he said this was a huge realization for me this week. I just realized that I'm not good enough. I once was the best, and I'm not good enough anymore. And I want to be there. I
He's
need to
just now
grind more. I
realizing
need to
this.
practice more. I don't know. He probably realized it, but he came out and
Finally
said
could
it to the
say it.
press. Yeah, I think he's probably, and he kind of carries that like he's gonna go earn it. Where JT feels like he deserves it for some reason.
Yeah, I'm actually going to side with Spieth here too. I don't think either guy is as funny as maybe they think they are when they're talking to the media and trying to like have some kind of dad jokes in there. I think Spieth's just maybe more of a friendly guy. Like you sit down next to Spieth and you're just kind of having a nice friendly conversation. He's making you feel good about yourself and maybe a little bit more introspective and inquisitive about asking about your game and seeing how things are going with you and maybe taking young guys under his wing a little bit more than JT who. Is a pretty
Yeah.
intense guy, a little bit negative at times. And I have some examples. I actually went back to my messages to pull this up. He was in the feature group at the Masters. And those feature groups have pretty good hot mics. And this is awesome as a viewer. I think this shit's hilarious. But I had 3 quotes that I have in my message that said, "Wow, JT's been hot mic'd so much in today's feature group. To Cap's point, I don't think he learned his lesson. What the fuck is going on? God damn it. Man, you're such a bitch. What the hell was that?" He's just always like Spieth gets caught on the hot mic, like talking to Greller about this or that, but JT's just cussing at himself the whole time, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, everything you guys are saying for me is like, I love JT for these reasons because that is me. I'm not going to yell at my partner, my caddy. Like
Fair.
I'm gonna yell different things at myself that probably don't deserve to be repeated. But
Yeah, I mean, Chisholm, I would say you're a pretty good mindset on the golf course. We went and played last week, and Chisholm removed the practice swing from his golf game. I'd probably take one too many, especially around the greens. I'm jealous of the way he approaches the game of golf. Grip it and rip it, baby.
Love that.
I haven't taken a
that.
practice swing since high school, and it's because I realized very quickly I'm not good enough to take them. But if I keep up pace of play by just stepping up and ripping into one, then that gives me more time to eat my Snickers bar or do whatever else I need to do in between shots. So it's an efficiency play.
And you're good enough to not take them at the same time. Well, I would say I'm not good enough to not take them because like half the time my first swing's like a massive divot or like it doesn't even like touch the grass. It's like no in between. I'm like, fuck, thank goodness I took a practice swing. That'd be pretty embarrassing if this was my shot.
Get that one out.
Yeah, maybe I need to start again.
All right.
My last nod to Spieth is that he's still rocking the Under Armour sponsor. And it makes him feel like he's like a friendly high school football coach to me. Just rocking the Under Armour. I love that. I don't know if I could name another guy on tour who's rocking Under Armour, but Spieth, loyal, still rocking it.
Yeah, poor Under Armour. They really went down with the ship there. Akshay versus Sahith. For obvious reasons.
We all know it's Sahith. Akshay had his girlfriend on the bag for like a minute, and that's not getting you any player props in a locker room on tour at all.
I think it's Sahith all the way. Akshay, after his performative injury, stepping off the course during the playoff. What was that, Valero last year? That was
our biggest hit of the year. That was like what was that?
The biggest hit of the year.
50 to 1?
65 to 1, sorry.
65 to 1. That was huge.
I forgot that
like made my year.
That was nuts.
That was a fork in the road. Mm-hmm. He was gonna win. He was gonna win it either way. The other guy, I don't know who he's playing, hit it in the water twice.
Denny McCarthy.
Denny.
Because Denny ripped like 9 birdies.
Denny was rolling the shit out of the ball that tournament.
He had like 9 birdies in 13 holes after like a couple of pars to rip. And I wasn't nervous at all going into the day with a ticket for Akshay to win outright. And then I was like, this is Denny. But
All right, I agree with Sahith. Just because Akshay went straight to pros out of like at 17, he probably lost a little bit of the social interaction that Sahith got, playing on the college tour and just coming up through that. Sahith kind of took his own road, and they always mention that in the broadcast, and it kind of makes me think he's a bit of a loner. The way they say
Yeah.
he went out on his own and did this. I love our sweet Prince Akshay. I root for him continuously. But this is just about locker room guy. All right, Rory versus Scotty.
It's got to be Rory. Scotty seems too he seems too close to. He keeps his cards close to his chest more than a Rory who literally was the scapegoat for the tour during the entire Live scandal, and the way that he threw himself onto the bus that Jay Monahan was driving, and every single player on tour knows that, and even guys on Live tour know, like, after a lot of animosity to begin, like Rory was one of the number one guys trying to make these talks happen and get them back. So
lots of opinions, though. Opinions don't always drive cohesion when you're just hanging out in the locker room.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna say right now, this week, Rory's the locker room guy. But he's been playing well for a long time. But if he starts winning these big ones, these majors again, instead of just pulling out top fives where everyone expects him to be, if he starts taking these championships off the board, and he's stepping back from that role with Monahan, I think he kind of doubled down on that this week. Said, "I'm just here to play golf. I don't know what I was doing these past few years." I think it could shift. I think it could shift to everyone resenting him a little bit for being so good.
Hating on him a little bit. I'm going to go with Scotty. Scotty's a big Christian ministry guy on tour. Read about that. Sometimes it's actually incredible how many of these guys are a part of this program and whatever that kind of do whatever together, right? But there's got to be some deep relationships there, Bill. I'm sure these guys, it's crazy. That's one thing I think about Full Swing is not the biggest Full Swing guy. I'm not a huge blending my sports with reality TV guy. I kind of like my reality TV stars to be unhinged reality TV stars, and I'm perfectly content with my golfers just being golfers and being a little boring at times from a personality standpoint. It's kind of part of the deal to be a great golfer. But it was fun to just kind of see how much casual interaction and chatting goes on, especially amongst these top guys that are playing on all the signature events and see each other week in, week out, and they're all traveling to the same places and going through a lot of the same experiences. And it's kind of easy to forget that while they are competing against each other each week, and it is an individual sport, all the guys on the tour are essentially a team, right? They're a team that goes out there and puts on a product each week that we're all enjoying and the fans come out and see. And so that's why after these majors, you always see a few guys lined up to greet the winner, right? It's always fun to see, who's the guy? Like, I feel like there's like a certain standard of like, you can't just go out there and greet them unless you have that relationship or you're kind of, everybody knows you're being a bit for the cameras, kind of a tool bag, douchebag. So,
a little bit phony.
Thanks for indulging me with that game. All right, we're going to go, Cavs. Let's get our picks in, and then we'll get out of here. Why don't you just kind of run through what you're seeing on the card, anything you got prop bet-wise, and maybe just a little bit of why.
Yeah, I think just running through everything here, I do want to say Data Golf is so back. It's never been more back than it currently is, and I want to make sure that I'm highlighting a lot of these things were taken off of a model that was judging multiple sports books, looking for who has the most value based on where you expect them to be, what their odds should be realistically, course fit, et cetera, et cetera. So let's just jump into it. I know I've mentioned a few guys already. I want to start by giving you guys my picks to place. So I'm going to start with the top 10, go down to the top 5 winners, et cetera. Fuck it, we ball. First one I want to highlight is actually one of running back Jones's favorite players, automatic bid on just about every tournament he's in. That is a certain Mr. Daniel Berger. Coming into this one, I like DB a lot. Both FanDuel and DraftKings have him at a number that I can live with, being a little bit closer to that 74, 75 to 1 odds. DG has him upwards of 76. So anything inside of that, you're getting really good value. Right now, it's the top value play that I'm seeing on my board would be him to win outright. But I don't know if I like him winning at a field where the course isn't going to separate a lot of the pack. So I just like him at top 10. I think he's going to skirt himself in there. Maybe just outside of it going into Sunday. I think he gets in by end of day.
DB top 40 Masters, my biggest play that weekend. From a unit size, it was still negative value. I think minus 140, minus 150. I bet today, what would that be? Top 40, I'd have to look. I mean, minus 320 maybe.
Make the cut, whatever that is. Yeah,
the PGA is a huge field, so some top 40s would come a little harder than maybe at a Masters. But yeah, DB straight vibing's been playing great golf. It's great to see him back on tour, mixing it up. He could be a Ryder Cup guy, sneaky. After dealing with all those back injuries the last few years, so it's good to see a familiar face in DB straight vibing on the leaderboards.
Hundo P. Dick, is any top 10 you got or that you're looking at?
I'm looking at a top 20.
All right.
I'm looking at a top 20. This is just to get your feet wet. Maybe you're not a huge gambler, but you just want to sprinkle something out there on somebody that everybody likes, and I'm going to go Shane Lowry for a top 20 finish. He's been playing well the past few tournaments this year, played well last week, played well in the Masters. It's plus 150. You get a little bit of positive money, throw $10 down, you can feel good about yourself. That's going to be my easy pick.
I like
that. It feels like it's just straightforward. He's just got great hands around the green. That's always the thing announcers always will say about Shane Lowry. Oh, soft hands around the green.
Soft hands.
And he does. It's fun to watch him chip. All right, top 20, and I'm going to also take this guy outright to win. Hate to do it, but last year the PGA Tour, we saw his buddy Xander finally break through at a course that on some levels is a bit more of a typical rotation course, right? This is a course they see every year. It's not a course that's just absolutely spruced up with all the pimps and tricks for the major championship. We're going to go Cantlay top 20 at plus 115. And then Cantlay also to win, and that's plus 4,000, right? It's a shot in the dark. Do I think it's going to happen? No, but the value is there at plus 4,000. He's been playing probably the best golf he's played in the last 2 years leading up to this tournament.
Okay, I'm gonna throw out a parlay. Parlay for the boys. This is a stat driven parlay based on this was a spawn of my research for the pool, looking into the top 10s, like I said earlier. The three players with the most top 10s in the last 4 years in majors: Scotty,
Yep,
Xander, and John Rombo.
the Rombo.
The Rombo.
It's hard for
Scotty.
me to bet on Rombo. I try to do it. I wanted it to happen. What you think he's gonna come up and rise from the ashes like a phoenix? He's kind of a backdoor top 10er a little bit, but
I don't know, but in the last 4 years, Scotty's had 12 top 10s. Rom has had 8 top 10s, and Xander has had 7 top 10s. And if you parlay Xander and Rom, $10, you can win $70. That feels pretty good. If you want to throw Scotty in there, you can do 10 for 100. But I like that. I like the action. You get to follow 3 guys, 3 big names, popular guys who are probably going to play well. That's a fun parlay. 3 guys, $10 win 100.
Chisholm.
I got a couple of more.
Yeah,
within this top 10, the top 10 realm. I'm moving off of top 20s. I want to call that out. Normally, I do love throwing a couple out there, and I might pair a bunch of these top 10 and top 5 guys together, just, in order to dabble it up, I guess you could say, and get some score streaks going. But second guy that I want to call out here and especially coming into this tournament, not a name we've brought up in quite some time, but for real OGs, real listeners, you'll remember that we took this guy to win outright at 80-1, not last year, but 2 years ago with the Valspar Championship. And he pulled it out for us in a way that we are hoping he's going to again. That is Taylor Moore coming in as a deep cut top 10 bet. Odds currently for an outright winner of the 90th ranked golfer in the world are about 200-1. So from a value betting perspective, we're seeing a lot on him in terms of getting that top 10 sneak. A lot of his short game and the mid iron play is going to be what we are hoping gets him to a good spot. As long as the rough isn't too bold, too thick, I think this is a guy that's going to be able to come in and have a dark horse finish. Potential guy that you want to have is a sleeper pick in tier 6 for easy office pools.
Love that. I got one other pick. My pick, you just gun to my head, who's going to win this tournament? Scotty Scheffler at plus 400. We're just seeing him come off a win. He took the week off. He feels rested. He's in form. And at some point, he's going to get off the schneid outside of like the Masters. Like, it's time for him to put another major championship on his resume. And he's been hovering around the plus 250 zone for around the last 5 majors. So maybe even plus, say 7. So getting him finally at plus 400, which is due to Rory, stepping his game up and taking some of that win share. But also him not playing nearly as well so far to start the year as he did last year when he was just on that torrential run. We're going to go Scotty Scheffler at plus 400. Gun to my head if I had to pick an outright winner. Of course, he's the favorite. I'm not necessarily stepping out on a limb here. But I think it's still just, you still put your money on Scotty and figure out the rest. For me.
I think that's fair. He's the favorite for a reason. I think if I had to pick one, an easy pick, mine's going to be Rory at the plus 500 of what I'm looking at here on.
That's how we led the show off, baby.
I'm backing it up here. We're going to start the same way we finish the same way we started with Rory. And I got a couple sleepers. Ludwig, Oberg. He's just due. It just feels like he's so due. And maybe it's just the media who gives him so much hype because he's just this tall, gracious, handsome gentleman. And he's been playing well enough to be on the front of all these storylines. And they might have gotten in my mind a little bit. But I do like Oberg at plus 2,800. And then my long shot is a return, maybe another return to grace. Just like Spieth could be, is DJ. And this is probably influenced because right before this pod, DJ posted a hype video on his Instagram to that song "Sail." That we all watched. Sail. We all watched hype videos on YouTube to anything and everything when we were in middle school, and DJ's still rocking with it, which I love. But DJ's plus 12,000, worth a sprinkle.
Yeah, I could see DJ at some point in his career winning another PGA championship or a Masters, just out of kind of left field. U.S. Open, I don't know about another one. British Open, that's not really his style anymore, especially as he's, over on Live, but I don't hate it. All right, Cap Street, I'll give you the floor to you again on, I know you got a few more up that sleeve.
Yeah, a couple guys I want to highlight. First and foremost, a name you're going to see a lot if you haven't already, David Puig, coming out of Arizona State in the Live Tour. He's been a bit of a heater as of late. If you look at some of his most recent finishes on the Live Tour, he was tied for 6th at Ryda, 4th at Adelaide. He's in competitive form, if nothing else. And because of his time at Arizona State, we know from an amateur stage here in the States, he's more than capable. Biggest thing for him is that he missed the cut here last year, the 2024 PGA Championship. So I'm expecting him to be coming out guns blazing. I know that this is one that he's had circled for a while. In that same light, I'm also taking a very, very close look at a certain Kevin Yu. That would be Kevin with a Y and a U. No more, no less. This is a guy that has had a few really, really good finishes as of late. Coming in just last week, won Flight Myrtle Beach Classic. He finished 4th Even going back further than that, though, to the Texas Children's Houston back in late March, tied for 18th at the Valspar, tied for 12th. And then I believe he also, in his last 10 appearances, he's hitting a top 20 clip half of those times. A number of them getting very close to within the top 10. It's a huge value play. It's not a best bet by any means, but Kevin Yu, in order to get inside of the top 10, sorry, I was looking at the top 5 numbers there. Top 10 looks like his best bet or best value available right now is going to be plus 1,600 at either FanDuel or DraftKings. David Puig, however, I mean, you can get him for a top 5 at Bet 365 right now at 33-1 when Data Golf has him closer to 26, 27. I think David Puig's best bet is going to be the 1,400 to make the top 10, which is over at Bet 365 right now. If you do it anywhere else, best second odds you're getting is 1,000 at William Hill. So take advantage of that 14-1 offer over at Bet 365. That's where you're making your money. Outright winner time, though, I'm feeling very Canadian going into this. I'm taking two Canadian golfers will be my outright bets for this, not necessarily for the tiers, but yes, one of those two, Corey Connors, he's just as consistent as they come. You talk about Oberg being a guy that's due. Corey Connors is right there, if not even more so. Tied for 26th.
He's a good pool pick guy because he's just a little boring, right? Like,
there's nothing
he's
really
exciting about
Canadian older Scotty. Yeah, exactly. But tied for 26 last year at the PGA. He's able to compete. He kept it about 9 under par. And more recently, he was tied for 6th at the RBC Canadian Open, tied for 9th at the U.S. Open last year. So the tougher the course gets, the more he's rising to that occasion. And biggest thing for him is just his ball striking has been phenomenal lately, and it's got him in a spot where off the tee, with the irons, I feel very confident in him being able to get the ball to the fairway and to the green. So for Corey, I'll for sure be looking at his numbers. From an outright win perspective as well, the best bet for him is actually going to be at FanDuel, where right now you can give him plus 7,000. So we're looking at a pretty sexual 70 to 1. I'm a fan of that, especially when Data Golf's got him closer to like 54, 53. The other Canadian, I'm sure you could have guessed, Mackenzie Hughes. This is a guy that I've been big on for quite some time as well. With the Americans having more success in hockey, I feel like it's also got to set up and do for some love for the Canadians on the course. Mackenzie's biggest numbers and biggest things of late was the 8 under 63 that he fired off at that Myrtle Beach Classic. I feel like that's always a good sign when you see a guy being able to go out and go low. And he's also versatile as hell. On the PGA Tour Canada, he won. Corn Ferry Tour, he has won. PGA Tour itself, he has won. It doesn't really matter where he's played thus far in his career. He's at least won one time there every single stint of it. But I think Mackenzie's thing from my perspective and what makes him valuable is, I guess if he ever does get away from the greens, his short game has been incredible, both chipping, getting up and down, but then also with the putter. I think everything he does around the greens is what a guy would need to do hypothetically to win a major championship, regardless of the course. So when one setup is open, as Quail Hollow seems to be from a major championship standpoint, it's not going to be as, funneled at the top as Brooks always used to talk about. Show me some love for the brothers up north. The 51st state, whatever you want to call them. I call them friends. So, Canada.
That's why you're the muscle. Those are good reasons. I like that. My last pick, and then we can just do some cleanup. I guess it's a couple picks. It's a top 20 parlay. Chisholm's getting away from this. This is just a dumb brain top 20 parlay. Because if you look at each of these guys individually, you just bookmark them for a top 20. Tommy Fleetwood. Guys are walking top 20. Colin Morikawa finds his way in the top 20. Xander, PGA Championship top 20. He's the one I'm most worried about. Then we got Sepp Straka and Jason Day, who's just so in form right now, playing great golf. Those are the guys. That's going to be plus 5,000. 50-1 odds there. Might just make that same bet.
I like it. I like Jason Day in there.
If you bet
J Day's the man.
Picture this: those 5 guys being top 20. If you played the PGA Championship 50 times, those 5 guys will be top 20 one of those times.
They're gonna find their way there.
Yeah, right.
You want to hear 2, maybe 3 more names? You guys tell me if buy or sell on them going into this.
Yeah, go for it.
Yep.
First one, we mentioned his name earlier, Davis Thompson, 25 years old, coming into this tournament with a bit of momentum, mainly from his victory at the John Deere Classic, the 5th major last year in Silvis. Posted a scoring record of 28 under, 256 through those 72 holes of golf. Showcases his ability to score, his ability to compete, especially when the field is set up like it is right now. You have to imagine a Quail Hollow primed for a major where the rough doesn't appear to be quite too much yet. Going to benefit a guy with a bit of youthfulness off of the tee, maybe with the long irons as well. I always forget how strong of a collegiate background he has too, like just with his success, being able to take on some of the best in the world, through his success at the collegiate level, I believe, flying through the Korn Ferry Tour as well. Watching him putt the Valero Texas Open last year really opened my eyes. Or was that that was Davis Thompson, right? Not Danny McCarthy. I always get those 2 mixed up.
Yep. Mr. Thompson.
But I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on Davis Thompson, or do you need to see more from him before you can really formulate an opinion?
Yeah, I don't really got too much on the DT radar this weekend. He's a year away from being a feature group guy.
Mm-hmm. He's where Sepp was at that tournament when Sepp lost to Zalatoris. I feel like Sepp's really come into form since that point. I feel like the Valero for Davis was kind of his villain arc story, if you will. So I'm excited to see how he does.
Golf has to be the only professional sport with anybody named Davis, and there's multiple.
Comes with the territory.
Lacrosse.
First name. Yeah, maybe some
last one. Chuck, you go for it.
It's funny you make the Sepp comparison. They're both Georgia Bulldogs.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably have they got a lot of similarities. Go Dogs.
Apologies to the viewers for that. I get this AI camera that needs to settle down. But last one, Thorbjorn Olsen. Been watching a bit of Vikings lately, given ode to Valhalla last year. Olsen had a fairly decent past few tournaments. I think his highlight of last year was a T5 at the Valero. He's had multiple appearances at major championships up to this point. So the experience is there. I don't think he's really been able to tie it together from a performance standpoint, but he seems like another one of those guys that could break out onto the scene with one good tournament, get something underneath his belt. And I feel like because he can play in so many different course conditions, his game isn't too strong one way or the other. It could open him up for success at a Quail Hollow. But once again, any thoughts here, or too early to tell?
Yeah, too early to tell. I'm more of a Hoysgaard guy if you're going to start getting out there with some of these names, some of these Western European fellas, or anybody with, the crossed out O. That's more of a Hoysgaard guy for me. Guys, the brothers.
Yeah, I think I'm a sell on Thorbjorn. I'm a sell on this guy. He seems like your next door neighbor PGA Tour player. Like he probably lives on a street where only half the guys know he's actually on the PGA Tour, just living a normal life. He's super happy with that. I don't know if he's got the ambition to get it done on a big stage like this.
How old is Thorsborn?
He's 35.
Yeah, I'm selling. I'm selling on Thorsborn.
I like it. I like it though. You never know. He could be the next big story Michael Block.
I was gonna say it's between those guys, and then I think Rio Hisasune, however you pronounce it. I don't want to offend anyone or, cross a line there. But him, Davis Riley, and all the other guys that I kind of mentioned in that, outsider looking in conversation, I think of those 7 guys, one of them becomes more of a household name by the end of the tournament, if not 2. I would say probably 2 of those 7 are going to be, top 20 guys that we're looking at come next time. But that's all I got.
There we go. That turned into a little bit of Rent Money After Dark there down the stretch. I liked that, Chisholm. That was good stuff. Well, hell, if you tuned in and stuck with us, we appreciate you. We are really excited for this weekend. If you have any interest in, a golf pool, a tiered pool, reach out to us on the Instagram or the Twitter or wherever you can find your pop-off podcast or Rent Money News. And we'll get you hooked up with Dickies and we'll get you in the pool. I believe it's a $10 entry up to 2 entries.
Yeah, that's right.
A couple rule changes after we had a couple guys that are doing so many entries you couldn't believe it. Like they were trying to figure out every combination possible. But I know from Dickies, Chisholm, and I, we all appreciate it. Chisholm, why don't you give us another quick shout out to the Dabble Bros?
Yep. Good folks over at Dabble.
Remind the good folks of Dabble, and then.
Oh yeah. Shout out to the good folks of Dabble.
Way,
I think we got some technical difficulties on my end, I believe. So we'll go ahead and tie a bow on this thing. But yeah, thank you to Dabble helping sponsor today's video, podcast, whatever the hell this is. Best of luck to everybody. A lot of the bets that you guys are taking. Just quick recap on my end. Top 10 bets that I'm looking at is Thorbjorn Olsen, Taylor Moore, and David Puig. Top 5s, I like Kevin Yu as well as Davis Thompson. Both risky though, so go ahead and back all of those down from the T5 to T10, T10 to T20 if you're a little more conservative. And outright winners, I'm taking my Canadians, Corey Connors and Mackenzie Hughes.
Love it.
With that,
rock on.
Any other bets, any other picks that we have, we'll be getting them out to you guys on the socials, on the graphics. Best of luck to everybody here coming up, and hit them straight.
Good luck in the pool.
Woo! And tell your bookies
that we say hi.